Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Since I come from the predominantly edible oil industry, I'd like to make a presentation on a subject which is very fresh and very new in the edible oil scenario in India, and that is the rice bran oil. I'd like to put the rice bran oil in the Indian context, looking at it entirely from the Indian nutritional and health perspective. If you look at the edible oil scenario in India, the edible oil consumption in India is fantastic because of the huge population and also our eating habits. The vegetable oil sector in India is very large, but what has happened over the years is that we have been lagging behind in our own production, whereas our consumption kept on increasing. In the 1970s, we were absolutely self-reliant in edible oils, because at that point of time, our per capita oil consumption was very, very low, a meagerly 4 kg perhaps. But that has nearly quadrupled, become 4 times in the past decades. And today, from nil imports in the 1970s, today we import nearly 2/3 of our entire oil need. And as a matter of fact, edible oils import account for the second largest chunk of our imports after the petroleum oils. These figures will give you the idea what exactly is happening, because our own domestic production of edible oils have almost stagnated over the years, whereas our population and per capita consumption both have galloped onwards. Now, in this context, if you look at rice, which is a cereal crop, of course, but India happens to be world's second largest producer of rice after China, and it accounts for 1/5 of the total production of rice in world. Within India, paddy is the largest produced agricultural crop in India by area as well as by production. Now, rice, traditionally it used to be produced by hand pounding, and the brown rice used to be consumed. But with the advent of technology, our preferences have changed, and now we consume almost all the rice in India after polishing, which means the removal of the brown layer, the thin brown layer, which is naturally present on the rice kernel. And this brown layer is called as rice bran. The bran that is removed from rice is around 8–8.5% of the weight of the total rice milled. This bran happens to be, apart from source of lot of vitamins and other micronutrients, it is also an important source of very high quality, nutritious edible oil. The edible oil content in the rice bran that is removed from modern rice milling can vary from 12 to 20% depending upon the quality of the bran and the milling technology that has been used. The total rice bran oil potential in India, if you look at the total rice production, it comes to around 1.3 million metric ton of oil. Against that, our actual rice bran oil production is 0.8 million metric ton, which is around 60–61% of the total potential, of which a huge portion, almost entire quantity is edible, little quantity is non-edible. And this we have calculated on the basis of the present production and the bran generation and average oil content. So the unexplored potential for rice bran oil, so far, we have got as yet opportunity to convert another about 500,000 metric ton per annum. This is basically a schematic diagram of how rice is processed. Basically, first we remove the husk portion of the rice, then we polish to remove the bran. This particular bran then is solvent extracted to get the crude oil, which is then further refined to get the refined rice bran oil. Now, what is the present status of rice bran oil in India? Now, majority, around maybe 75% of the rice bran oil is not used as rice bran oil alone. It is used after blending with some other oils. Majoritarily, it goes into groundnut oil and mustard oil. A lot of it as legitimate blends, some of it definitely not declared as such. Some quantity, maybe around 10 or 15%, is still used by the vanaspati industry. Of course, it is a shrinking industry. And only around 10% of the rice bran oil, edible grade rice bran oil, is actually used in India as branded, packed edible rice bran oil. Now, this quantity, which is very, very meager, maybe 77,000 ton per annum, is handled by something like around 35 manufacturers in the country. The average consumer pack sale is only about 4,500 metric ton per month, or less than 200 metric ton per month per manufacturer, which is maybe suboptimal size. Now, what are the challenges? Why rice bran oil is not catching on so far? One major reason is that the rice bran oil, as it is recovered from the bran, or as the bran is recovered from the rice, there is a lipolytic enzyme present in the bran which becomes activated, and it breaks down the oil into fatty acid. And this reaction is so fast that in a matter of days, almost entire rice bran oil can be converted into fatty acid. And this fatty acid has to be removed during the refining process, and that adds to the losses and the cost of processing. However, the technology is available to take care of this problem. This lipolytic enzyme can be deactivated by various means, including wet heat. Now, fortunately, in India, around 60% of all the paddy that is processed through parboiling. And therefore, this parboiling process also deactivates the lipolytic enzyme to a large extent, and that retards the formation of fatty acids. And also the parboiled rice bran has got a higher oil content. And due to the higher fatty acid content, rice bran oil is almost entirely processed by physical refining, which is a better way of refining the oil. Now, I was just talking about the effect of technology on the oil recovery from rice bran. So, the traditional hullers, they used to have very low oil content in the bran. Then came the shellers, so better oil recovery from the bran. And the modern rice mills, they give very good, we get complete recovery of oil from the brans. In the industry, from the marketing point of view, a very big challenge before rice bran oil marketing is the dark color, the naturally dark color of rice bran oil, because first of all, we obtain it from the brown portion of the bran, and therefore there is natural pigments present. Now, Indians have been traditionally consuming very dark colored oils. Our traditional oils like the raw groundnut oil, sesame oil, mustard oil, they all have been very, very dark colored. But with the advent of refined oils in the 70s and 80s, somehow today's Indian consumers, they have got a very big preference for very light colored oils. So therefore, a refined oil, the dark color like rice bran oil, usually does not get a consumer preference right away. And also, rice bran oil, because it has got very high content of micronutrients and nutraceuticals, it has got a darker color as well as a slightly hazy appearance. So the consumers, they feel that this oil, as a refined oil, is not very preferable. However, fortunately, now technology has been developed by the Indian Institute of Chemical Technology at Hyderabad, which reduces the color as well as the haze of the refined rice bran oil. Now, rice bran oil has fantastic health benefits. And these health benefits come from two unique properties. Number one is its very unique fatty acid composition. Now, rice bran oil has got a fatty acid composition which is closest to the recommendation by the American Heart Association, World Health Organization, as well as Indian Council of Medical Research. Apart from that, rice bran oil has unique ingredients like oryzanol, tocopherols and tocotrienols, which are the vitamin E, squalene, and phytosterols. Now, if you look at the fatty acid composition vis-a-vis the recommendation by World Health Organization, you will notice that rice bran oil comes closest to what has been recommended. And also, it has got huge quantities of natural antioxidants, which are recommended to be as much as possible to be present in edible oils. As I told you, the fatty acid composition of rice bran oil very closely matches the recommendations by the health authorities, and therefore it is highly beneficial in lowering bad cholesterol, that is LDL cholesterol. At the same time, it improves the good cholesterol, HDL cholesterol, and LDL cholesterol ratio. And this reduces the possibilities of atherosclerosis, that is the coronary heart diseases. The vitamin and natural nutrients that are present in rice bran oil, they also help reducing cholesterol. Tocotrienol, which is the vitamin E present in rice bran oil, that also inhibits cholesterol synthesis in the body, as also the oxidation of cholesterol, which ultimately causes the atherosclerosis. And this oryzanol is found only in rice bran oil and in no other vegetable oil. And oryzanol helps in reducing cholesterol not only by reducing its absorption of the cholesterol by body, but also by reducing the synthesis of cholesterol in liver. Rice bran oil contains something like 18,000 ppm of phytosterols, and this is much higher than any other oil, including olive oil. And these phytosterols, because structurally they are very similar to cholesterol, therefore they trick the body cells into not accepting cholesterol from the food. So therefore, it reduces the cholesterol absorption by the body. Squalene is another unique substance, a hydrocarbon that is present in rice bran oil, and it has got very good properties for reducing the oxidation of the body cells, and also improves the quality of the skin, maintains texture of the skin. Recently, there has been some research on blending of rice bran oil with sesame oil, and papers have been published telling that a blend of 80% of rice bran oil and 20% teal oil is found to be helpful in normalizing blood pressure and sugar levels in type 2 diabetes mellitus. There's a lot of health benefit of rice bran oil alone, as also its blends. So thanks for giving me the time. I hope I could enlighten you something. If you have got any question, you can ask me now or during the break. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for the presentation. And I would request Ravindra Pratap Singh, our special guest from Odisha, to give away the speaker memento to our speaker here from industry. Sir, can you join us on the stage? Our speaker memento. A round of applause. Thank you, sir. Thank you, R.P. Singh ji.